Good evening. Hour after hour, day after day, the media has been squarely focused on the IPL fiasco, and the buzzwords for days have been spot fixing and betting. Quite often the two terms have been used synonymously, despite the fact that the nature of the crime couldn't be more different. Betting is perhaps the worst kept secret in India. Lakhs of people do it. Sometimes, as in the case of horse racing, it is legal. In other cases, like in cricket, it's not. Tonight on The Buck Stops Here, should betting in sport be made legal? Also coming up, 60 years ago, Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay created history by conquering Mount Everest. Today, summiting Everest seems to have become a free-for-all. If you have the bucks, you can effectively buy yourself a ticket to the top of the world. Joining us tonight, some of India's finest climbers. Some of them have summited Everest themselves, as we ask the question, is Everest no longer the holy grail of mountaineering? You're watching The Buck Stops Here. I'm Vishnu Shom. Let's quickly move on to our top story. The more the pressure grows, the more willing N. Srinivasan, the beleaguered BCCI chief, seems willing to fight it out. So despite pressure from the sports minister and some BCCI members who say he should step down, Srinivasan has made it clear he's going nowhere. Earlier today, the tide seemed to be shifting against Srinivasan, when Rajiv Shukla, the IPL commissioner, seemed to indicate that he should step aside. Within hours, though, Shukla climbed down and said that he meant something entirely different.
हमने उनको सुझाव दिया है कि जांच के दौरान इस प्रक्रिया से अगर वो अपने आप को अलग रखें तो बेहतर होगा। उनको ही सुझाव दिया। अब वो इस पे अपना जो भी निर्णय है निश्चित रूप से विचार विमर्श करेंगे, क्योंकि हमारे लिए क्रिकेट बोर्ड की इमेज और वो इलेक्टेड प्रेसिडेंट है।
So that was Rajiv Shukla this morning, shortly after he met Arun Jaitley. These two senior-most BCCI members breaking their silence for the first time, indicating that N. Srinivasan should step aside and allow an independent probe to take place, indicating perhaps that he might even be replaced by a temporary board chief for the period of the probe. But soon after, he gets a call from an angry N. Srinivasan in Mumbai who expresses his displeasure, and Rajiv Shukla does a U-turn. Listen to his statement, which he makes barely 2 hours later, where he now says that all he meant was that N. Srinivasan should disassociate himself from the probe, not from the board. Something which N. Srinivasan says he had already agreed to.
Till the pendency of inquiry, when commission is probing it, he should dissociate himself from the procedure.
No, let him clarify on this disassociate. Does it mean he should step aside? That means he should not attend office. He should not attend office as BCCI president for this period.
Dissociate from the procedure. Dissociate from the procedure is very clear as promised. So this is what I'm saying. That's it.
Mr. Shukla, latest interview I saw, it is very clear. He has clarified that what he says is that during this commission has been appointed and that I should disassociate from the procedure as stated. So therefore, what he has said is he has reiterated what I stated in the press conference, and in fact I have nothing to do with the commission.
Srinivasan has taken a defiant stand. While there were calls for him to step aside, the BCCI president turned up to work here at the board's headquarters in Mumbai. A show of defiance, which is what has clearly led to the climb down by IPL chairman Rajiv Shukla.
Rajiv Shukla, as IPL chief himself, is under immense pressure. And today, in an effort to distance himself from the controversy, Mr. Shukla said that he wouldn't want to become the IPL chief yet again when the post comes up for renewal in September. But even as N. Srinivasan dug his heels in, pressure grew from outside for his resignation. In fact, Sports Minister Jitendra Singh asked him to resign on moral grounds.
But in the end, it comes down to who has the numbers in the board. And as more voices in the BCCI came out, it seems that the board is clearly divided between pro, anti and fence-sitters.
When you take the public mandate is concerned today, the public mandate very clearly shows that he needs to step down.
I would certainly expect an appeal to Mr. Srinivasan's inner conscience that he must step aside, not only in his own interest but in the interest of the sport.
Former BCCI President I.S. Bindra has demanded that Srinivasan should step down and not cause any more damage to Indian cricket.
Why should he resign? Why shouldn't he? His son-in-law is involved.
How does it matter? My son-in-law may be involved. Does it mean that I have to resign? But let the investigation show. If in the investigation it comes that Srinivasan has been responsible in this, obviously he will go. He's an honorable man.
उसका दामाद क्या कहा है उसमें श्रीनिवासन का क्या देना लेना है तो फिर उसको वेट करना चाहिए क्या होता है उसको देख के श्रीनिवासन ही गुड एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर है उसको कंटिन्यू करना चाहिए.
Game should be clean. There is no place for the entertainment cricket. And if you are not able to do it today or tomorrow, you will lose your place.
The larger question is that the credibility of the BCCI will take a beating, and that again comes down to Mr. Srinivasan himself.
So, I mean, you will all see that all these people who are making now are holding position in the board, and they have worked with him. And now, after working with him, how can you raise the issue? The rules are made to prevent certain things to happen. Now, after happening those things, you are now saying that these rules were there and there is a conflict of interest and he should resign. And to my mind, we should, in retrospect, we should think about it. Why we did not then object to his buying a franchisee.
Could you just tell us what is your opinion on this matter with Mr. Srinivasan? Do you have nothing to say? So there you have it, Mr. Anurag Thakur, who is of course the Joint Secretary of the BCCI, not saying anything at all to us. That is the position most BCCI members are taking at the moment, and even though Mr. N. Srinivasan is standing your ground and saying that he will not step down, the position seems untenable. We are hearing from top BCCI sources that they are frustrated and they do not, under any circumstances, want him to stay on as the BCCI president. They want him to step aside at least until the probe is finished and the investigation is completed.
If the anti-Srinivasan group can't convince the board president to resign or muster up the numbers to vote him out, then this impasse will continue till September's AGM, when BCCI can hold fresh elections. With Bureau Inputs, this is Rika Roy for NDTV.
Well, let's return now to our big focus this evening. For the last several days, the two terms which have dominated media headlines have been match or spot fixing and betting. Two very different things. It's almost universally accepted, entirely accepted, that spot or match fixing is reprehensible. It cannot be accepted. But betting is a very different story. Lakhs of people are involved in betting in this country. And a lot of people believe that perhaps it's time now to be pragmatic. The question we are asking this evening, should betting be legalized in the country? Joining us to discuss this, Vidushpat Singhania, sports lawyer and FICCI chairman. Also with us, Rahul Mehra, lawyer and sports activist. Talochan Singh, vice president of the Indian Olympic Association, is with us. And Aman Lekhi, the well-known lawyer, joins us as well. Mr. Lekhi, let me come to you first. You know, there have been surveys which have been done. The betting market in India is thought to be 3 lakh crore rupees. Even if there was 20% of that which went into government coffers as taxes, it could potentially help sport in the country. It could generate between 12 and 19,000 crore rupees. We'll argue about the morality of betting in a while, but isn't this a pragmatic way of going about it? Look at the benefit that it can potentially bring sports in the country.
This propensity and sudden desire to turn vices into civic gold is what amazes me. I have been hearing various arguments in support of what is being suggested. And one of the things which is spoken is that there is a lot of black money, and if this is kept underground, then the black money will in some way multiply. The issue which arises for consideration is that why the sudden interest in black money when the issue actually should be focused on spot fixing. And the government is suddenly alive to it. Surprisingly, just about 2 years ago, when the Supreme Court had passed the order in which the direction was made that the SIT, that is the High Level Committee which the Supreme Court constituted, will bring back money back. In the Supreme Court, a review petition was filed by the government saying the Supreme Court does not actually have the power to do it. Interestingly, that particular judgment said that various means should be considered as to how to control black money, in some way suggestions so as to bring some changes within the system so that the problem in some way obviated. At that point of time,
where is the question necessarily of black money? If the government says betting is okay, if it regulates what is allowed, what are the areas where you can bet? If it says that some online sites are, then there is a track of the money over there.
No, insofar as betting is concerned, please understand the occasion to examine the issue of betting is because the problem of spot fixing. Spot fixing is something distinct from betting. Insofar as betting is concerned, yes, in UK it may be legalized, in some portions of Europe it is, but there is no general consensus that betting is in fact something which is beneficial. One aspect of it is concerning the revenue, yes, but it's got negative facets to it too. Negative facets insofar as the effect it will have on the population as a whole. Now we have to see the context in which this particular statute operates, and we can't possibly ignore the social realities of our country. Insofar as betting is concerned, the money which you see laundering, insofar as the IPL franchises are concerned and others, they have money to squander because there is excess of it and they don't mind losing lakhs or crores of it. But see the impact it's going to have on the ordinary Indian insofar as betting is concerned, because what should actually be taboo becomes legal, and therefore the desire to move in that direction and wager on chance becomes all the more attractive. Now what consequence it will have on the population as a whole is something which you have to consider. These figures which are bandied about are always attractive, but the manner in which our system works and the number of laws which we already have and the way in which the laws are actually manipulated and abused, I am not very optimistic that if betting is legalized, it will actually bring in the kind of money.
Let me just bring in Vidushpat Singhani over here. Vidushpat, you've written this report by FICCI. You believe that it needs to be legalized because that's a pragmatic way forward. Yeah. What Mr. Lakhi says is that let's be real about how things work in our country, and there is a social milieu here which we just cannot accept that.
See, as such, betting is banned as of current position, and nothing has been done, and the investigation on spot fixing or match fixing have not been successful. This is not from just now.
But this is what I don't understand. Why are we necessarily talking about spot fixing and betting in the same bracket?
I'll tell you why. We are talking about it is because it's only when betting is legalized, and this is the worldwide scenario, because if you see all the codes of the criminal codes of how they are checking match fixing.
That spot fixing can be
can be detected.
Right.
Because you have your betting patterns, whereas if X amount of money is bet on a particular match,
yes.
If a match is fixed,
yes,
in a particular way, a bookie will definitely bet a higher amount on that match because he has to get a return out of it.
Yes.
If he bets a higher amount on that match, then the betting pattern, there will be a red flag to that in the betting pattern. As soon as there is a red flag in the betting pattern, the operator will inform the National Sport Federation, which will in turn inform the people who are associated with that event, that yes, this matter is under investigation. When that happens, maybe the player or the official who is part of it may not actually fix the event or a match. That is one bit of it. That does not stop the investigation itself. There is a parallel investigation going on where your anti-corruption sports unit of the BCCI, if in this case, and your police can take the lead who to contact the player at that point of time.